Hello everyone, my name is Gothic Lord UK, and if you've been watching the videos on this channel for any of the last few months, you'll know that I have been creating a series called Baldur's Gate 3 5th Edition, where I take the video game Baldur's Gate 3 that is designed using some of the rule sets from tabletop Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and I implement extra rules because some of them haven't quite been implemented in their entirety. This might be things like classes can only cast spells from that class's spell list, or shoving being a full attack action rather than a bonus action. Well, that game is wonderful and I love it very much, but now we have a new game on the scene. This is SOLASTA Crown of the Magister. This is a new game by Tactical Adventures, and rather than using the full gambit of Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition content, this is limited to the SRD, the Systems Reference Document, which is basically a really stripped down version of what is found in the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, and the Dungeon Master's Guide. They've taken this stripped down version of the game, added their own homebrew elements to it while keeping most of the mechanics fundamentally true to the 5th Edition experience, and now we have this new game. It came out of early access yesterday, which also happens to be when I found out about it. It had come through Kickstarter and has been through several updates through early access, but now we have the 1.0 version of the game. And before we jump in, I'm just going to take a look at the settings and see what options are available to us, what rules there are that relate to that 5th Edition experience. So obviously, display and language, standard stuff. Reaction timer. So it seems here that we will be able to take reactions at our own decision rather than the game making them for us. And so this tells us whether we have to do it within a certain amount of time or not. I'm going to keep that turned off for now. Reaction on trap detection. We can either have our party stop or have no reaction. I like to think my heroes are probably smart enough to stop when they do detect a trap. Preserving a random seed. This is something that I know about from playing Civilization 5. This is where, say you're playing your game, you open a chest, there's a health potion in it. If you save the game before that chest and reload it, with a preserved seed it will always have a health potion in it. But with an unpreserved seed, every time you go to that chest, if it has a chance to be something different, it may well. So it might be a mana potion or it might be some gold instead. But by playing with a preserved seed, all the results will always be the same, so you can't reload and try and fudge things to your advantage. Grouped monster initiatives. So this is when you get into a fight. Will all of the same monster types go at once, or will they be dispersed between the initiative? I prefer the latter, so we'll do that. And prepare spells and long rest. So in 5th Edition, certain classes, the wizard, the cleric, and the druid, can wake up after a long rest and then choose what spells they're going to use for that day. Then after that long rest has occurred, they can't change their prepared spells through the rest of the adventuring day. And I'm going to be using this setting. I think that's a really good addition. This is something that Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't do. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can just change your prepared spells anytime you want outside of a combat. Faster travel on world map. No, I don't want fast travel. I want to be traveling at the pace that is set within the world. Don't need to worry about camera. That's not going to impact game. Autosaves and show helmets. Let's show those helmets. Difficulty settings. So here we have 5 modes. Story for those who just want simple stuff. The Explorer mode for people who aren't maybe knowledgeable with tactical RPGs or the 5th Edition rule set. Authentic mode, who people want the authentic tabletop experience. That's probably where I'll start. Scavenger mode for a harder challenge, and Cataclysm mode for real bad suffering. I will stick with authentic mode. Custom difficulty lets you change a bunch of these extra sliders down here. So things like damage taken, if you want an easier time, you can lower that. If you want a harder time, you can double all the damage you take. I'm going to keep that on 100% because that is true to the standard experience. If I can just get onto 100. There we go. Disable enemy crits. No, if we can crit, they can crit as well. They can have their standard 100% health. And here you can see if you want to boost or what's the opposite of boost? Debuff. If you want to debuff your enemies, you can bring down their saving throws or increase their saving throws to make them tougher. I'm going to leave all of that neutral. Deadlier AI. Monsters use powerful moves such as AoE spells more often and will shove characters to their death. Yeah, I think creatures should act in the way that they would act if they were real, so I'll take that. Merciless. Monsters will attack unconscious and dying characters to kill them. Now, I think that is good. However, I think where I get hung up on this is that not knowing whether every creature will do this every time. I think some things, like if you attack a brown bear and you get knocked unconscious and there are other threats, a brown bear will go after the other threats before trying to attack you when you're already unconscious. So I'm going to leave that off for now, and we might revisit it in another play. And auto revive is going to be off. We're going to need some kind of magical healing or something in order to revive ourselves if we fall in combat. For health and rest, critical NPCs and companions fully recover during short rests. No, you only get the hit dice that you have, you only get the standard rules for recovering. We will require food for a long rest, rather than the things in Baldur's Gate 3 where you can just have as many long rests as you like. By limiting ourselves to having food available, we really put a timer on ourselves to be able to have rests when we have the resources available to us, and not when we don't. Max health on hit dice. So hit dice are a mechanic that when you take a short rest, you have a pool of dice that you can roll to heal yourself. This would take the maximum on those dice to heal yourself, but I'm going to take the actual rolls. And max health on level up. When you level up in Dungeons and Dragons, you roll a dice, depending on what class you are is the size of that dice, and that determines how much your max HP increases, as well as the addition of your Constitution modifier. So this would take that number and always be the maximum. So if a wizard rolls a d6, it would always be 6. But I'm here for the pain. Let me get those 1s on max health level ups. Inventory rule for encumbrance. I think this is characters can carry 15 times strength, but will be encumbered after 5 and heavily encumbered after 10. Tabletop, we just have 15 times strength. And simplified, characters can carry up to 150 times strength. Let's take the tabletop version of that. Spellcasting. If you're concentrating on a spell and you get injured, you'll need to make a check in order to try and hold that concentration. I am for that decision, so we will not turn this on. Universal Scrolls. So this came up in my Baldur's Gate 3 playlist as rule number 6. Classes can only cast class spells that they are able to learn from spell scrolls. So in this case, we will not turn this on, so wizards can only cast wizard spell scrolls, clerics can only cast cleric spell scrolls, and so on. Spellbook page limitation. When the option is activated, spellbooks can only contain spells fitting their page's limit, usually 100 pages. Each scribed spell, either from a level or a scroll, takes a number of pages equal to its level in the spellbook. A wizard may have to purchase another spellbook before the end of the SOLASTA campaign or be prevented from leveling up. That sounds fun and exciting. Verbal components for spellcasting will be implemented in full, somatic in full, and material in full. Dice rolls, I want true random dice rolls, that's good. And a guaranteed critical every 15 rolls? Nope, I will take my 1 in 20 chance for a critical on every dice roll, thank you ever so much. Forced dialogue successes? Nope, I want to see the story as the dice rolls permit. The same for dialogue chances. There is a bestiary in the game that tells you information about creatures, and I'm going to leave that locked until we find that individual creature. And I would like random encounters. I think they add a little bit of flavour to the otherwise safe parts of an adventure. As for exploration, reroll exploration checks, for example disarming a trap. I think if you've attempted to disarm a trap once and failed, I don't think you should get to keep doing it. I think you've basically tampered with the mechanism enough that it's then considered broken, or like a lock is broken or a piece of your lockpick set is jammed in the mechanism, and so I will keep that unchecked. Auto detect traps, nope, I need those passive perception checks please. No tools required. No, I would like to need a specific tool in order to achieve a specific task. Force crafting roll success. No, I would like to be able to fail those rolls. And allow attuning unknown items. So this comes off by default. I did check online. and you can attune to an item that you are unaware of its magical properties. But a few things can happen. For example, say the item is a warhammer that can only be attuned by a cleric, and a paladin attempts to attune to that weapon. The attunement would simply fail, and you've wasted the period of time trying to attune that on a short rest or a long rest. And you also aren't aware of the specifics of that item before you attune to it. So while you wouldn't know about things like curses, if there was some kind of negative trait to that item, you wouldn't be aware of it until you complete the attunement. So I'm going to allow attuning to unknown items because that's how it is in the tabletop game, and it's an option here, and that completes the rule set. And so I'm going to cut this video here, and then next time we will go through the races and classes that are available to us, some of them from the Player's Handbook, other ones entirely new, created by the team. So otherwise, thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Video links in the description for all of these videos in the pre-campaign episode stages will be right down there, and all of these will be uploaded on the same day, so you can jump straight into the adventure if you wish. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.